Welcome to the Workin' Podcast, the show where we talk about whatever we want so you don't have to. My name is Mike, and with me as always is my co-host, Jeremy. How are you?
Doing great. How about you, man?
Feeling weird.
Feeling
This
weird?
is the first episode we've ever shot of this.
It is. Got some butterflies going almost.
Every time I start a new show, I kind of feel like this, where I get the butterflies in the stomach. It's like I just ate a large meal, and it's like kind of passing through real quick, and you're like flying by the seat. You're like, I gotta get home.
See, I have more of that.
Not using that gross bathroom in the restaurant, because you don't know what has just happened in there.
See, I have more of that, like, first date where you can drive to feeling. You know, where you're in the car, you're heading, and you're scared
Absolutely that.
shitless.
Yeah.
And you're like, I could turn around, but I'm already heading.
Yeah.
Already heading.
I can always hit up someone else on Tinder.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
that's a story for another time.
Yeah, and you just get to the door, and you're about to knock, and you're like, I think I'll go home and play video games with the guys.
Yeah. So the way this show works is each of us brings a topic to the table, and we're going to talk about it. Before we do get to that, though, remember, before we get into the topics, liking the video and subscribing does help us grow our channel. And so if you're really into what we're doing, be sure to do it. And then on top of that, leave a comment in regards to our topics and let us know what you think of them, or your response, something like that. So
Absolutely. We'll take any feedback, positive, negative, any ideas.
Exactly, yeah. So leave your comments and your recommendations for what we can do on future shows. Maybe something like the location or something like that changing.
Or good food recommendations.
Always down for
Always
good food recommendations.
Want something to eat on.
So another thing to mention is that the way that this podcast works is that we're going to shoot part by part and then post them to the YouTube channel on like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the full episode coming out at like the end of the week. So you might see a full episode on a Thursday or a Friday, just depending on how many people are on, how many topics there are. So just keep an eye on that. I'm sure on our social media accounts we'll post something like this week's podcast is going to be 3 parts or 4 parts or 2 parts or something like that.
And varying lengths. Some
Yeah.
longer
So.
weeks, smaller weeks.
Exactly. So from there, let's get into our first topic. We kind of have a big list of topics we wanted to talk about at some point. But my topic for this week is things we couldn't live without. And so I was kind of sitting there thinking about this when I was making this topic. And I don't mean literally live without. So I'm not saying like, oh, things I couldn't live without.
Oxygen.
Oxygen. Ha 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 ha.
Water.
So funny.
Water.
Ha 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 ha. The love of another human. Ha ha ha.
Beer. Beer.
So we're talking more like, well, I don't want to commit to that answer.
No, not.
I just definitely shot Miller Lite on my nose.
Yeah, like a little bit of cream soda. Oh,
That stuff is gross, by the way. I'm not a fan.
I'll choke it down.
Not a fan of Seagram's Orange Cream. That is no endorsement from the Workin'
Bad.
Podcast whatsoever. Sad.
So,
Sad.
wrong.
Rating out of Trump, sad.
God.
We're getting right into politics.
No.
The one
Moving
thing I
on.
wanted to avoid. Moving on. Oh,
But-
I wish I had papers to shuffle, like Jon
To
Stewart's
write on.
show.
Draw the
Yeah, yeah.
circles. No.
Yeah.
But the basis for things you couldn't live on were on the lighter side of things. Is that what you were going for?
Yeah. So just like, like all those millennials out there, like their cell phones or their social media and stuff like that. So I was kind of thinking about it, and I was thinking about like my daily ritual, you know. And so I was getting into it, and I'm like, well, I wake up, 8:30, alarm goes off, immediately right off the bat, alarm. Can't really live without an alarm.
It's hard. It takes a while to get up at that same time every morning.
It's how I start and end my day.
Yeah.
So if I'm starting every morning at 8:30, then I'm like budgeting my time to get to like the end of the day where I'm like, well, I should probably go to sleep at like this time to get like 8 hours of sleep, because without 8 hours of sleep I'm going to be running on empty the next day. So definitely an alarm. I could not possibly live without an alarm.
It's true. Do you set? See, this is what I do with that. On top of it, I set an alarm for a whole bunch of things. 'Cause I forget everything throughout the day.
I've been really bad about it lately. I've been doing this thing where my alarm goes off at 8:30, and I just barely wake up, and just enough to hit stop and then pass out. And then 2 hours later, I wake up and I look at my
bad.
phone and I'm like, 10:30.
Just
Shit.
the little death emoji that you're just like, ooh,
Yeah.
10:30, the day's done.
The cross-eyed, like, mouth
Yeah.
agape emoji. Yeah, so an alarm, definitely. But I was just kind of wondering what some of yours were. So, like, I'll just lay it out there. Like mine that I decided on were alarm and ability to go out and like get food at a restaurant because it's just convenience.
Yeah.
And then also, I guess, I hate to say it, but probably my phone, just because I feel like a lot of things that are important to my life are connected to that. So like social media, but like being able to immediately communicate with like friends and loved ones and stuff like that.
It is hard. It becomes an attachment of your hand after a while.
Right? Wait till
Yeah.
it's our eye.
Yeah.
And I laser in on you. And I call
you ever
you
use,
through this
did you ever use
camera.
those Apple glasses, or what were they called? The
Google Glass.
The Google Glass.
Google
Ooh.
Glass? Yeah, Google
I
Glass.
was
Yeah,
gonna say,
yeah. Those
those.
were interesting.
I wore one pair of them, and
Did you got to?
yeah.
Here's the thing. They discontinued those.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'll go on eBay and see if I could find some for cheap.
Ooh.
Nope.
Cheap. No.
Because now it's all resellers that are like, oh, $2,000.
The crazy story of how I got to is I was at work one day and a customer came in and he's fidgeting with his glasses the whole time he was ordering. And I just wanted to know, well, what are those? He said, these are the test glasses for the Google. And I went, oh, that's so cool.
man.
What do they do? And I'm not the biggest techie guy.
Yeah.
But he explained it to me and I was like, there's no way you could look at photos with that tiny little screen. Son of a bitch.
It's insane.
It's insane.
It's insane.
And I should have asked him if he worked there, because apparently, yeah, like you said, they're gone.
Yeah.
And those were, what you say, $2,000?
Like resellers now are trying to sell for like $2,000. It's insane. Should start selling some of the things that I don't value as things that I need in my life. And
Yeah.
see what kind of money I can make.
Yeah, so I guess the number one thing, which will segue into a later topic, is probably my books. And that's fun reading.
Yeah.
But we will get into that one a bit more later. And at the moment, I'd have to say my laptop, out of the function that it is how I go to school,
Mhm.
how I run my online business,
Mhm.
how we work some of this podcast, and much, much more.
Yeah.
So between those things alone, it functions as three pretty important parts of my daily routine.
Yeah.
So I'd say my laptop would be number one. Number two would, with the way my back is, a good pair of shoes.
Yeah.
I always got to have some good, because I'm walking several miles a day, and it's just like,
Yeah, I really don't value the shoes I wear. And
Oof.
and here's the thing is that I'm dumb for that. and I fully acknowledge it. And the issue is that I actually have like a flat foot.
yeah,
I don't have like the natural arch that you should have in your foot. And so my feet just murder when I walk long distances. Like when I go to like music festivals or I work like a long shift
when you
at
stand
work.
10 hours and it's 90 degrees out.
Oh my god. Yeah, every year that I go to Lollapalooza, by the end of the show, at the end of the night, my feet are just like ready to just like snap. They're
Yeah.
awful. So yeah, I should really invest in shoes
you
with like
need
a
a-
nice arch support.
Saves your back. Saves your back,
Oh yeah,
saves
that
your
too,
ankles,
yeah,
saves your
absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, nice shoes.
feet. True.
Yeah. I wanted to segue. I wanted to take this and fling it back,
All right.
if you will, to your first choice, the reading.
Yes.
I'm an English major, and I didn't put that on my
Oh,
list of things that I need that I
Oh,
can't live
that's
without.
fine.
So, I like reading. I don't get to read as much as I want, and the things that I have to read for class, not exactly at the top of my list.
If you
So-
drop your phone in water, you could throw it in one of his books, and it'll probably dry it and save it. It's
Dis-
that bad.
dis-
It's that bad.
Disenchanted English literature major here. So, I'll throw
Yes.
it back to you. Let you keep going.
Yes.
I value your opinion. I'm gonna let you continue. I'll be on Twitter. But if you'd like to continue, I'd absolutely love to hear it.
And back to politics.
And back out.
Back.
And here's the thing: throw it in there. Bring the net back in.
Yeah.
Cast it out. Bring it back in before comments can come in.
And then we just move on.
And throw it out there. And you see the comments in the horizon. You're like,
Yes.
leave it out there a little bit longer, because like the shark in the horizon. You know,
Yep.
Yeah. Back in. No sharks
visual.
today, son.
All right. Yeah. But reading though, yeah. I could go on all day talking about it, but
Yeah.
since I came back stateside, I went on a 6-month adventure several years ago, which we'll dive into another day. But leaving an area where it was all high stimulation technology, I needed to find an outlet that kept me outside. Yeah, too much of this. So me not being as intelligent as a lot of people in my local friend group, or other constituents as they call it.
I think that, okay, so this kind of gets a little bit too much into a different topic, but I think that I feel totally unqualified to talk about certain things. Just like you probably feel unqualified to talk about like something video game related, just because you've kind of stepped out of that boundary, you know?
Yeah.
So don't feel bad.
No.
Because there are definitely things that like you and our buddy Tom can talk about that I'm just like, all right.
Yeah.
and just kind of autopilot.
That's me with video games.
Yeah.
I spent 30 minutes in a GameStop today and said, oh, Mario Party 9. That looks like fun.
There's a ninth one.
And then I realized it's 6 years old.
Right? Yeah, time flies, man. You know Halo 3 came out in 2007?
And to me, that still sounds like a new game.
Did you know there's a Halo 5?
I didn't. Which actually segue back to my point on books is it's amazing with how easy it is to get access to the pop culture world or the phenomenons. In the topic of books, I hadn't read the Harry Potter books until 2015. And at that point, the last movie came out 4 years earlier. But I had no idea of the entire series. Yeah. Of any of it. Any of the stories, the plots, the jokes, any of it. I avoided all that.
But are you saying Harry Potter is something that you couldn't live without?
Now, knowing about it, almost. I don't know how. I was in such a bubble.
It's probably one of the, like...
For an entire generation.
It's probably almost one of the literature and cinematic universes that, like, if it didn't exist, I would feel, like...
You feel like you're a part of something bigger.
Less of who I am now. Just because, like, that was such a, like, forming part of my childhood.
Yeah. So, that was insane to the fact that I missed that entire phenomenon, would you call it?
Gryffindor for life. Yeah,
I found out I'm more
movement,
of a
man.
Ravenclaw.
The movement.
They're way cooler.
The Ravenclaws?
Yeah.
They're like the Kurt Cobains in the corner. Writing their poetry. And
they're not Hufflepuff.
No, dude. Putting it out there. Send the Hufflepuffs back. Send them back.
Push them in the lake.
Send them back. All the Hufflepuffs, go back.
No, so, and I ended up binge reading them all. I read a book one day and then I watched the movie the next in 2 weeks. I basically just sat down, said, this is going to be what I'm doing the next 2 weeks. I go to work in the morning, then get off, read the book, and then the next day go to work, get off, watch the movie. And after 2 weeks, I remember walking up to one of my friends and was like, dude, have you read these or seen these?
Yeah.
These are incredible. And he looks at me like, yeah, where you been the last 10 years? So,
yeah, man.
That was a game changer.
J.K. Rowling was a billionaire and then donated so much money that she went back to being a millionaire and has since, of course, come back to being a billionaire, I believe.
I was going to say.
But, yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, Harry Potter is so immensely successful that it spawned, like, spin-offs and stuff like that. So, I would definitely also put Harry Potter probably as something that I couldn't, like, possibly
What do you think of that new movie?
Like, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them?
Yes.
I liked it a lot. There's parts of it that I feel like they could have done better.
Did it seem like the main character almost never talked in the entire movie?
I think that's kind of his... I think the point of that is to, like, make it more of, like, a group cast. Like, I think Harry Potter handles that a lot better. I think the core Harry Potter books handle that a lot better. But I feel like Fantastic Beasts does it well enough, because I think they're trying to be like, well, he's not necessarily the main character. Like, Newt Scamander is the main character, but he's like a co-main character.
Yeah.
To, what's her name? The woman who works for the magic department.
Yes.
And then her sister and Jacob something, the guy who owns who wants to, like, start the bakery.
Yes.
So it's kind of
who
like...
does start the bakery.
Spoilers.
It's 6 months.
It's a whatever.
No.
If you haven't seen Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, we're sorry.
It's 2017.
There's gonna be like 5 more.
Yeah.
5. Really? Are you sure?
5 more.
5 more.
5 more.
5 more. So does that round off your list of like?
That was probably the most eye-opening one the last couple years. Fiction-wise, I also read the book called The Alchemist. Have you ever read it by Paulo? I'm gonna butcher his last name. Coelho.
No.
I think I definitely just butchered his name, but I probably read that book in 2 hours.
But is that something that you could live without? Let's talk.
Oof.
Let's talk like essentials. We'll put down reading as a whole as something.
Reading
that you
as a
can't live
whole, I
without.
mean that.
And we'll get into that soon because that's gonna be like a whole thing.
You know,
that we
not
talk
that-
about. But because I don't want to delve too much into your topic for today, which spoilers. His topic is reading, but
I'd say The Hobbit. I could say The Hobbit.
The Hobbit as
Yeah.
its own separate entity from reading is something you
Yeah,
couldn't. Live
I'm
without.
I'll have a Hobbit tattoo here within a couple of years.
Yeah.
So on the ribs. So yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
So
So aside from reading, what is something else you couldn't live without?
and we're not including family, any of that.
Let's talk material.
Materials.
I feel like that's probably what this comes down to is like material, like optional things that
I'd say my
honestly
desk,
feel like you couldn't live without.
My
Your
desk.
desk.
my personal desk.
This desk right here.
No,
This little card table.
no. This card table is
You can't see it because
It's out
the
of
desk
shot.
is out of the shot for this one. I don't know how we're gonna really incorporate it. We have a weird tripod deal right now, but we're gonna probably get a little bit taller tripod in the future. But yeah, the desks are not level,
no,
which is
So
something that really bothered you before we started.
Oh
and
my
I was
God.
like, don't worry,
If you
I'll
can
just
see it in the
take it
shot-
out of the shot.
Mike is about 5 inches taller than me, and his desk is already like higher, and my desk is down here and wobbly as hell.
Oh, that's fine.
But yes, so my desk I have at home. I have a rolling standing desk that you
Yeah.
can crank down to a sitting desk.
Yeah.
I notice anytime I'm trying to work on anything, maybe this, a project, writing, sitting too long,
Mhm.
I get lethargic. You kind of get bent over.
Yeah.
You get cramped. You get lazy.
You kind of
start
you
sitting
go
like
into your
this.
you go into your naturally
start
most
eating-
comfortable position.
You start eating Cheetos off your chest.
You're
and
telling
just-
me, dude. Let me tell you, long benders where I'm like, I'm gonna get pizza. I'm gonna play video games.
You just start-
I'm not gonna do anything.
You start
tonight.
to get to this, and then the next day you're like, oh my god.
I'll like recline back.
why?
And I'll recline further back, and I'll take the pizza from the desk to maybe like right here, and I'm eating it, and I'll like switch to watching a movie or something, and then that pizza, my arms are out.
Oh,
so
yeah.
where am I gonna set it back in front of the desk and reach
No,
there?
no, you're just gonna-
Pizza is coming up here.
You just.
And at this point, I'm as far back as I can go.
Oh, you're trying to make as big as a platform as possible.
And here's the thing: all hope for self, appearance gone out
Oh,
the
yeah.
window. Windows over there, it's out.
See, that's like the
And-
most vulnerable moment. If someone walks in, you're deep like this.
And that is where the
You're
head
in-
begins to retract into what I call thumb status. In that, like, your head retracts into where your body, honestly, indistinguishable for a thumb. And so that's where you've got the pizza here, you're at your most vulnerable, and head is like,
Oh yeah. So
And
that's
the
why I
window.
find my standing desk and it's on wheels, so I can just take it anywhere, and I just find it. I got better posture. I'm sitting up. I'm not a thumb. I'm more of kind of like a middle finger. Standing up straight, proud. God damn.
calling me a thumb boy.
I am calling you a thumb.
Called me a thumb with my pizza back here, my thumb status, and I got my cheese pizza, and there's a movie, and I'm in the comfort of my own room, and
That's
I'm
a-
like,
Episode
This
2,
is
I'm gonna
fine.
bring him a pizza. He'll be in that same chair.
this is fine.
Yeah, so probably my standing desk. And whenever I just get sick of it, easy crank.
I wish I had a standing desk.
Oh, it's great. Except the setup.
Yeah.
And the teardown.
We'll get into that more, because I actually kind of want to talk about that with your topic.
Yes.
But, okay, so aside from your standing desk,
That would be, yeah.
is that your list?
Yeah, those would be mine.
That's a pretty good list.
Yeah, it's
That's a
pretty
solid
simple.
list.
I'm generally one now with stuff.
Yeah.
I do yearly cleanses of clothes,
Yeah.
objects, movies, DVDs. Why do we still buy those anymore?
Movies, DVDs, and Blu-rays.
They're going out.
I've got to be honest. Physical media is probably something that I can't imagine not being in my life.
Really? All right.
Because since like the beginning for me, collecting like video games and books and stuff like that, I feel like I've kind of amassed this collection to the point where I'm like, why stop now? And
Do you feel like it's kind of become a child of its own?
I feel like it's growing out of control.
Like a child.
And here's the thing: a kid stops growing. A collection does not. And that's where you get into danger territory. But the only time a kid doesn't stop growing is when you keep feeding that kid pizza. And that is also danger zone.
No, they're going to grow this
because
way,
that's
then.
when the kid is like, help me! I'm 400 pounds!
They're back to the thumb.
And here's the thing, they don't revert into thumb. You're stuck in thumb. And when you are in perma thumb, it's hard to come back from perma thumb. So,
but no, hear me out on this metaphor.
And my collections, my physical media collections that I can't live without, they are burgeoning on perma thumb.
Hear me out on this then.
So
they start as small collections, and you're very proud of it because you started to amass something. And then they enter, we'll say, the 4 to 10 phase, and let's say it's a good kid, not one of those like neighborhood brats you want to throw down the sewer.
Yeah.
You start to really feel some pride as they start to, run on their own, do little things.
Mm-hmm.
And then the pile starts to get almost too big. You fill a couple shelves up, or a full shelf, and they hit 12 or 13. And then they get attitude. And then it starts to get out of control, and then it controls you. Then it goes away to college, and then you spend all your money on it.
Let me take this analogy one step further.
Oh, no.
You're a child. You're baby Jeremy. Ripe age of 5.
Good looking.
Not so much a baby anymore.
That was real good looking. Chubbier back then.
Given. You get your first video game system, you're like, I got this crisp game in front of me, disc/cartridge, whatever. What was your PS1?
First game system, Sega. Yes.
God, that's why you stopped playing video games.
I started with the best.
So I can already see all the Sega kids just like disliking the video now.
No, I started with the original Sega.
So with the Genesis.
Yeah, and then
I should hook up the Genesis.
It got the little add-on top part to it.
The 32 bit
yeah.
thing.
That was a game changer, and then
this is so bad that I can't remember the name.
But yeah,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So I got that, and then the first kind of modern was the PlayStation 2.
Did you know that you can take that thing and like make like a disgusting tower out of add-on cartridges and stuff like that?
I did not.
Theoretically, you can. And now this is probably like small class because I've seen like horrible monstrosities stemming out of a Sega Genesis, but you can take that 32-bit cartridge.
How high are we talking?
And then take Sonic. Is it Sonic and Tails that has the part on the top for the cartridge?
Sonic 3.
Sonic 3, and you can take Sonic 2,
put it in the back.
Sonic and Tails, and pop it in.
Yeah.
And so you can have like this 3 cartridge like
I
disgusting
did that.
monster.
I thought you were gonna say put another 32 on a 32.
I think you can like stack that thing. It's insane.
This is about the extent of my video game knowledge here, but I do remember with Sonic 3 you could put Sonic 2 or Sonic and Knuckles in there.
Yeah,
that's about the extent.
You could play as Knuckles in the games, which was insane.
That was
the first mod support, if you will. But
see that already just.
And so video games, I guess, would probably be something that if they weren't in my life, be like, how do I fill the time? What now?
I would say that's how I feel about sports.
It's ingrained in my like who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Do you think you could make games though then, or is that gonna still count for you?
No, probably not.
No.
Thank you guys for checking out this part, and after weird camera thing that we have to deal with, we'll catch you in part 2.
Technology
unless
has
you're
its
watching
limits.
the full video, in which case, here's part 2. Part 2. Jeremy,
Yes. All right.
what do you want to talk about today?
So I'm going to talk about my ode to reading.
Ode to reading.
Yes. Better yet, my ode to loving books.
Mm-hmm.
So, our first part of the topic today, we talked about things we couldn't live without, and I briefly mentioned books. And I think you could agree with that on certain books.
Yeah. Well, I think books are more than what they are. So yeah, I
Yeah.
would say that
Fiction, nonfiction.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go through a list of a couple of the books that have really made a difference in making me a more creative, smarter, intelligent person. Conversation starters.
Cool.
So at the moment, I actually just picked this one up yesterday. The War of Art. I don't know if you can see it there.
Yeah.
So I put together a list of 3 yesterday in preparation for this cast. And while he was at work, I picked this book up, started reading it. I'm already halfway through it. This might already be in my top 3 favorite books of all time.
Really?
Yes.
Break through the blocks and win your inner creative battles.
So we'll
Huh.
put that.
I'll check
So
it out.
it's funny because it's not only a play on a famous book, The Art of War,
Yeah.
by Sun Tzu, but it's really timely for us because we've been wanting to start this podcast for a while.
Yeah.
And the entire first section of this book is about procrastination and starting a creative endeavor. So it's about as timely as you can get with a book. So
Yeah.
felt like that was pretty funny. Moving on to the next book, I kind of mentioned it earlier in the cast, was The Hobbit. It's my all-time favorite book.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got adventure, love the characters.
Yeah.
So, movies weren't as good though.
No, movies were not good. No.
And they
Oh, I guess that's kind of controversial of an opinion for me, but I didn't like the movies, so.
yes, it could have been one movie.
Yeah.
It really
Maybe
could have been
3
one
movies?
movie, and they stretched it
3
to
movies.
3 movies. But yeah.
Man.
And then the last book would probably be Elon Musk's biography, because if you don't know who Elon Musk is, I don't know who you are, because he is incredible. He started Tesla, SpaceX, was part of PayPal, started a company before that was basically GPS before GPS was around. He wants to create an underground tunnel in LA to San Fran, is it?
I don't believe it's underground. I think it's like an above ground, like.
A wind tunnel.
Yeah.
Or so.
Yeah. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
If you're able to start just one of those in your life, you'd be incredible.
Yeah.
And he's going to do 5 of them.
Yeah.
So his book is really inspiring because he came from South Africa during the apartheid
Yeah.
and was bullied, beaten up, and left the country at 17 to go start out on his own. So he's inspiring. So that's kind of a theme, I guess, I find in books is they're the best way to get a little inspiration outside of real people.
But so, you got books, you got reading. When on the timeline of your life does reading really start to take a hold of you? Because I think everyone can kind of take like their attachment to a hobby of theirs and put it back at like a specific point. So reading, when did that become like a big thing in your life?
It's funny. I always hated reading.
Mm-hmm.
The longest time, I
Yeah.
hated it because growing up I was all about video games.
Yeah.
Video games are outside. You know that when you're a young boy, you got energy. So you want to either release it by running until you pass out or,
I know, I looked at the side cam and I was like, I better mess with it.
or playing video games till you pass out, which
Yeah.
you and I did a couple of those benders till 6, 7 a.m. where you're not moving and you're just drinking Mountain Dew Code Reds at the time until you're
man.
just...
What a time to be alive. Yeah, I had to hop off that bender.
A quick side tangent is it's so funny. When you're 14, you could stay up all night, maybe get 3-4 hours of sleep, and you're fine the next day.
Yeah.
We're only 23 now. We're not old. We're still pretty young, pretty energetic. I do that one night now, and it takes me 3 days to catch up.
Yeah. It's like you land like right on your ass the next morning, and you're like, oh god.
You just get these black lines
Why?
of death.
Yeah, I can't pull those late nighters like that anymore. I feel like an older man now.
Yeah, but the thing that got me really into reading is I've always liked writing, though, which is kind of weird because a lot of times people like both. They either like to read and write or they don't like to do either. But I always loved writing.
Yeah.
But I never was good at using like good words or whatever. I don't have good words. I speak bad English. But
Gotta use your good words.
so it was a teacher of mine who just always just said, well, read whatever interests you. And I don't know why, but that simple concept never entered into my psyche. So I was like, okay. I loved the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah.
And I saw the books and I was like, there's no way.
Yeah.
The books are like that thick for one, and the entire collection's that big. I'm like, there's no way. Thus, The Hobbit comes into play because it's a short 200-page book, quick read, easier, and it's made for children, which is sad to admit when you're like 18 and you're reading a children's book and you're like, this is changing my life.
To it and you're like, oh man.
And shows you how much smarter kids were back in the day.
Yeah.
But that was kind of the key that opened Pandora's box. From there, I just started using it to find new interests. May it be business, philosophy, and art. You know, so it was my wormhole. It took me down. Was it Through the Looking Glass? Was it, or what was the Alice?
Through the Looking Glass.
Yes. So,
I think it's kind of similar for me. It's kind of like a weird happenstance of things that happened in my life to make me an English literature major. But I trace reading back a lot further back than going to college. I think it probably goes all the way back to sometime in my childhood, but probably around like middle school is when I really started getting into reading, because I did like I did what every kid does. I read Harry Potter. Well, I guess most kids.
Yeah.
I guess most kids. I read Harry Potter, and I read like some of the Aragon books and stuff like that, and I kind of took a fascination into like older like pirate legacy books, because I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. And
I can't remember the name of the series. It's going to drive me crazy, but I was super invested in them. They were like, I want to say around like 200 pages a piece. So if you know what I'm talking about, be sure to leave a comment. But I cannot remember for the life of me.
What was the one that just got put out on Netflix?
Ooh, I have no idea.
Oh,
there's a pirate show on Netflix?
No, not the pirate show. The Lemony Snicket one.
Oh, A Series of Unfortunate Events. That was a big one too, because I bought all those books like as they came out. That was
the only series I think I read from kindergarten to age 18. Maybe.
That was definitely a big one in my lifetime. I'm sorry, I'm like developing a cough as we like record this, but I followed those for a long time. And then the Jim Carrey movie came out.
Oh,
and I was just like,
it's done.
Oh God. Thank God that's a relic of the past that we don't have to really think about, because Netflix is blessing us with something.
It's kind of like the Spider-Man ones.
But
they just kept throwing out bad ones.
They just got better and better.
Yeah.
But, I think reading was a really primary part of my life until probably about high school. And that's where reading kind of died off for me as other interests developed.
As they start always assigning you reading.
I think I went from reading to learning a foreign language. I think that was kind of like my drop-off point for reading.
Yeah.
Like, at least as heavily as I was. Because I would do like the book club stuff in elementary school, where like you read so many books, you get a coupon for like Pizza Hut or something.
At that point, food's just fueling you.
And then it was required for us in middle school or in junior high and all that.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had to for some program. I can't remember the name of it, but so that kind of kept me in there. And then going into high school, I just totally dropped out when I started taking Japanese. But I like to think that I'm kind of coming back into a second era of reading in my life, only because I have to.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm reading more interesting stories now than I ever did, or like even like philosophical works, or deconstructionist works like Jacques Derrida and some others that I have to read for a lit theory class I'm in. But I think reading is super important.
No, I'm not gonna go that far, but no. I think it's just anymore. Like I was saying in the early part, it's just, and I'm all about the old school books. I can't do the Kindle things. Yeah. I hate reading books.
Like on a screen?
I hate reading books on screens. I see people on planes or airports or on trains anywhere on reading Kindle books. I just can't do it. I'm staring at a screen so often anymore. It kind of unplugs me.
You know, I think I comprehend better when I read off of a screen now. I think I kind of picked that up when I was doing more like intensive research into bands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When you and I would just go on Wikipedia binges and like read like basically full histories of bands and stuff like that.
See, and that's another thing with the internet. It just always feels like you're going and reading and reading. There's no end. With a page, it's simple. That's where you're at. And the next page.
I disagree, because you've got a sidebar, so you know how far down the page you are.
Yeah.
But I do think there is a certain detachment when you're reading online, as opposed to, it's nice to have something physically in your hand that you're reading, and it's kind of, I don't want to say it's interactive, because reading is reading.
It's about as passive as you can go.
But it's quote unquote interaction that you don't necessarily get the same sort of interaction in regards to like reading a digital book.
Yeah.
So I think reading physical books can kind of keep you more in the story.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. That's a tough one. I wonder if there's any studies into
If
like
you can read.
Well, I'm thinking more along the lines of people losing focus of what they're reading while they're reading.
Yeah.
If the act of like literally just flipping the page of a book uses more brain activity than just like swiping to get to the next page.
You know what's crazy is, and this only happens, when I get long periods, is, half the time if you're reading, you're doing this. If you're just at the end of the day and you're tired.
Yeah.
But, you sometimes get at that zone, where time starts to go away and you get in long flow. I remember I sat down one evening, and this was like 4 hours before I had to go to class.
Yeah.
I haven't read this book. I'll read like the first 20 pages. We'll just see what happens. And I ended up sitting there. I read the whole thing, and 3 hours had passed.
Yeah.
But it didn't even feel like time was moving.
Just kind of happens.
I don't know if
Yeah.
you've ever gotten into that, but it's the coolest thing whenever you can get into like flow.
I think I slip into that with like video games.
Yeah.
Especially like when you're right at the end, and you're kind of like encapsulated by this plot that's happening, this moving plot, as things just kind of juggernaut forward. And you're like, well, I got to do the next thing, and I got to do the next thing. And then you complete that, and you look down at the time, and you're like, it's 1 a.m. And I have to get up in 5 hours.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think all forms of like quote unquote literature, you can experience that.
Yeah.
But I think I could definitely see how reading can do that too, because you kind of just, it's a similar thing where you just get into the plot.
We could talk about that sometime. Just getting into flow. We could talk a whole cast just on that, because I mean, how many times? Quick backstory: we were in a band together, and we still jammed together. But how many times do you think when we were just playing, or you were just practicing, or listening to a record, and you're just playing, you're like, all right, I'll go to the next song, and then you realize you've looped the record.
It's one of those things where like you go to play one track off of an album, but you know other tracks off the album on guitar or something like that, and you play the one, and the next one just automatically pops on, and you just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do kind of get into like this automated flow. Yeah.
You wonder if musicians who play like the same things every night, almost in the same order, you wonder if they just turn off. If their brain just turns off for an hour,
you've got to imagine. It's like any other job. I mean, not exactly, but I think
job where you get to play in front of people every night.
You definitely get into an automated thing. Yeah. Some bands are a little bit better about remembering things that happen at concerts than others. But
if you ever watch like the old YouTube clips where bands will be like, "Thank you, Seattle," and they'll be in like Los Angeles.
Guns N' Roses did that?
Oh no, they didn't.
Yeah, recently on their new tour. I think it was in Australia.
Oh my!
They said the name of one city and they meant to say.
I saw. Did they say they were in Sydney, but they were in Melbourne?
Something like that.
Because
if
they
said
it
was, yeah.
That's like saying you're in New York when you're in LA. That's the kind of.
Yeah, I think it was like an honest mistake. I think it was on the prompter or something like that.
Yeah.
And Axel read it, and then was like, "Oh shit! I mean, I'm in Sydney, not Melbourne," or something like that. I don't remember.
You don't live that down.
Yeah. It's like, it doesn't matter because you know where we are.
Yeah.
I can't do it. The throat's burned.
Neither can he, dude. He must like gargle a tablespoon of honey before every performance.
I cannot believe that not only can a man do that, but he's also doing AC/DC shows now.
Is he still?
Yeah. Apparently there's a rumor going around they're doing a record.
I don't know how Angus Young can stand upright anymore.
I don't think he does. I think he's more of like this now.
You kind of think like over time we already do this as people. When you have to play the guitar and you play the guitar a certain style like this,
he already does the hunch over when he kicks the leg out, you know?
Oh yeah, like his spine is like a perfect like semicircle or whatever.
Yeah. see an X-ray of him, and he's just like a C,
Ooh.
like a letter C. They gotta like roll him out.
And their lead
for the
singer,
show.
he sings like the kind of
Who? Axl Rose?
well, their old one.
Oh, Brian Johnson.
I don't know how he could sing like that for 30, 40 years.
Brian Johnson.
Kind of sing like it. Like,
Yeah, he's like, gotcha, ow! Yeah. I saw AC/DC with Brian Johnson, but that's a story for another day. It was awesome. And they play a good dad rock concert because they get you out of there at like 10:30.
Oh,
and you're
man.
home before midnight. So
and they probably started on time too, didn't they?
yeah, like right on.
That's
the
what
dot.
Paul McCartney did.
Right
the
on the
exact
dot.
same time. 7:30 was on. Played 2.5 hours. He was out.
Yeah, sick piece.
He was
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, he was awesome when I saw him too. But anyways, reading,
Yes.
definite must.
Yeah, oh yeah. Definitely.
Definitely like me some reading.
Yeah.
Feel like I'm kind of getting more into that period of my life again. Are there any books that you feel like you haven't read that you want to read? Do you have like a list of maybe a couple books that you want to read, or?
Right now, I'm trying to get back into creative or fiction reading. For like the last 2-3 years, it was philosophy, business, biographies. Oh my god, I probably read about 30 biographies the last year.
I fell down that hole too.
Because it's so interesting following people. But yeah, my biggest struggle is getting into fiction. Because I'll find maybe one author and I'll just read them. And I don't follow any other rabbit hole. So I need to get more into the fiction world.
I got a couple books I can shoot you.
Yeah, or if anyone has any good recommendations, either classic fiction. My biggest one is finding, I guess, new people who put out.
I'm gonna put it out there for you, just in case you haven't read it, and for the audience, if you haven't read it, Kurt Vonnegut, Slaughterhouse-Five.
I haven't read that.
It's a must.
Is it?
I've got it hardback. You can borrow it.
All right.
It's weird. It is a weird book, but it is it's really good.
There is one, but I'm almost a bit afraid of reading 1984.
I don't know. I think everyone should read 1984. Working Podcast Book Club. Read 1984. Tell us what you think about it.
Or we're living in it.
Are we living in 1984 or 2017? Comment down below.
Maybe that's the sequel. Maybe that's the sequel.
Maybe that's the prequel.
Ooh.
And on that note, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in to the first ever Workin' Podcast. My name is Mike.
My name is Jeremy, and we'll be seeing you again very soon.
Yes, sir. Or ma'am.
Or both. Or unicorns, if there are
or,
any unicorns watching our channel.
Sir, ma'am, or other, please specify.
Yes, or Sasquatch. We know
Leave
you're
a-
out there.
Leave a comment down below.
A
telling
like,
us what
a
you thought
dislike,
about
we'll
that.
take anything.
Yeah, let's get this. Smash that like button. Let's get this video at 30 million likes. I know that doesn't exist. Maybe 40 million likes, though. I mean, come on. What would impress the YouTube people more? 30 million likes? 40 million likes? 88 subscribers? 88 million subscribers.
You know what's funny is we're going to do, for every landmark we hit, we're going to do celebrations, and then we're going to probably watch ones where people hit 1 million or 2 million. We're going to hit 50. We're going to throw a party, probably.
You get your traditional channel thank you videos for hitting milestones. We're just gonna do really dumb shit if we hit awesome milestones.
Oh yeah.
Expect like me breaking glass with my head for 100 subscribers.
Yeah, expect.
I'm putting it out there right now.
I'll probably jump into an ice bath and nothing but a Speedo. If we can get to 500, I will jump into an filled ice
Jeremy,
bath in a Speedo.
You gotta give the people what they want, because we already have the ice bucket challenge from 1 million years ago on the YouTube channel.
We do, but
That's
I wasn't.
a relic from time.
I wasn't in a
We're gonna
Speedo.
we're gonna put you in an ice bath.
Oh yeah.
Can we get a bear in the ice bath? For 200 subscribers, can we put you in an ice bath with a bear?
Is it a real bear?
Stay tuned.
Stay
we'll reveal
tuned.
that at a
There we
later
go.
date. Be sure to click subscribe if you want to see more of the Workin' Podcasts, and let us know what you think, and we will see you on the next one.
Stay tuned.
Until then.